Welcome, everybody, to another Univirtual Experience event, a collaboration conference between the Virtual World Society and Educators in VR. And we're here disrupting education one event at a time throughout the month of May. We're in week 4 of a month-long conference. We've got 5 days left, some really great, exciting experiences coming up still on a number of different platforms. But here today, we are with Alvin, Wang, Graylin, and I'll come to you in a moment. Before we start this event, I just want to thank our sponsors who've been amazing in supporting our efforts and also the platforms we've been working with. So thank you to our Infinity sponsor, HP, to our Galaxy sponsors, Engage and Avantis Education, also Grovix R, the VR lady, Donna McTaggart of Let's Meet in VR, who's up there. She's our event director for this whole entire Univirtual experience. Thank you for that, Donna. We've got Frame VR, Learn Bright, Waking Dream, LBX Immersive, and Tony Cube Studios, and the film crew consisting of Fox, Cal, Brent, and some other people who've been filming us for us. So thank you very much for all of that. And Alvin, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Daniel. Great to be back. Last year I was part of your 5-day kind of extravaganza. This year you've expanded to a month, so that's impressive.
Absolutely.
And you've been doing, you and your team have been doing great work over the last year to really gather that community and share experiences and information. So keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Alvin. Really appreciate it. And of course, here we've also got Tom Furness, and so we're double lucky today. Last week, I think you weren't able to join Tom's panel, so we thought we'd get 2 in 1 today. We're the 3 of us going to have a chat together. Nice, relaxed chat. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Wonderful. Wonderful to be here with you again, Daniel, and also with Alvin. Alvin is, of course, an old buddy of mine and sidekick, and actually was, as he will probably tell you, my student.
Yes.
Back in the early 90s, as it were. So,
yes.
Fantastic. You have a long history together. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on that a little bit today. So we're going to have quite a loose flowing conversation. Couple of points we want to hit on. I wanted to start, if you don't mind, with just a quick fire round of yes or no answers, questions. Is that okay? So
sure,
just and you can pass if there's anything you don't want to answer. You just say pass. All right.
Okay.
Okay. My first question for you, Alvin, is: do you code?
I used to. I haven't coded in the last few years, but I was a computer science master's degree. I've done actually coding everything from microcode to assembly code to C, C++, Visual Basic.
So, fantastic. So you walk the talk. That's
etc.
Also
yeah,
fantastic.
But that was but I haven't actively coded for many years.
Okay. Next question. Do you create for VR? Do you create VR experiences yourself as a hobby, or do you have any reason to?
Unfortunately, I really haven't had too much time to do creation, but I do work with a lot of teams, and we do have internal teams that do create in VR, and I help to guide them a little bit, but getting my hands dirty hasn't been, I haven't had the chance to do that for a while.
Okay. Next question. Favorite VR film?
Favorite VR? I think I would have to go back to The Matrix. I mean, that was the early 90s, and when I started to get into this industry, and it was what exposed me to the potential of this technology.
Okay, fantastic. Favorite VR book?
I guess
because I know you read a lot, right? You read a whole lot.
I read about 100 books last year. I try to go between 50 to 100 a year.
100 books.
But I liked Ready Player One because it was in the same time frame as I grew up. And so a lot of the references in there really were things that I experienced myself, and it felt like I was reliving my childhood. And the potential of what is I think described in the book is also, I think, quite viable. Although the movie didn't, I think, fully
translate.
Translate.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite VR app?
Favorite VR app? I guess right now it would be Engage, because I've been using that probably more than anything else these days. So because we use it for our internal meetings as well as for our conferences and then for a lot of these interviews. So
Yeah.
I've been in that quite a bit these days, and especially
Wonderful.
now that we're working so closely with the immersive education folks.
Yes.
That we have our own version called Vive Sessions. So
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that I am making good use of.
Fantastic. Okay. I'm going to ask Tom the same questions very quickly,
Oh,
and then we'll
gosh.
come back to some more open
Sure.
open conversations. Is that right? Okay. Right. So,
Sure.
Tom, same for you. Do you code?
I used to,
Mm-hmm.
but at that time we didn't code using keyboards.
Right.
We used punch cards. Well, I guess
Oh,
you
wow.
did use keyboards, but the keyboards then punched holes in cards, and then we
Yeah.
didn't put the cards in the computer. Only we didn't run the computer. We had to put it in as a batch, and then they would run it, and we get the printouts and things like
So
that.
this was
None of this
before
real
the
time
floppy
stuff.
disk. This is before the floppy disk.
Way
even.
before.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Way before.
Cool.
Yeah.
All
This
right.
is we're talking about 1964, 2, 3, 4, something like that.
Okay. Okay. Do you create for VR in any way?
Well, I mean, I've done my little.
Apart from creating the whole thing in the first place, I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did some of that, of course, the hardware side of things. But
Yeah.
in terms of virtual worlds, actually, I've played around with it with my grandkids and with
Yeah.
students, middle school students,
Yeah.
creating a high level virtual worlds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite VR film?
I'd actually say a Ready Player One, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I related to that pretty well. I mean, the Matrix was pretty far out too,
Yeah.
and of course, but I think I'll have to go with Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite VR book, fiction or non-fiction?
Actually, there was a neat one that was written as sort of a piece of fluff that was pretty neat. It was called Virtual Girl.
Okay.
It was sort of a science fiction book. It's called Virtual World. But then even before that, there was there was a book written by called They Shall Have Stars. It was by James Bliss.
Okay.
And that was one of my favorite books. It had VR. It actually had teleportation and had a lot of that stuff in it. This was okay. Yeah, they have stars. They shall have stars. Yeah.
Okay. And finally, favorite VR app?
I loved playing Myst. I don't know if you guys remember Myst.
Heard
when
of
you played it on the,
Oh, yes.
And now you can do Myst in 3D and VR. And I've been having a blast. Going back to that world, I assembled in my head by doing everything on a screen. And this is, 10, 15 years ago. And now I'm there. And I love it. I guess that's my favorite game. Of course, I love Beat Saber and all that kind of stuff. But it's Myst, I think, is my favorite right now.
I'll have to try that out. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, just a couple of quick fire questions there to start us off. Now, Alvin, I know I want to ask a couple of questions kind of more on the personal side maybe, and then we're going to come and touch on some of the HTC developments a little bit later. But from what I've heard you say a couple of times, I take it that you're quite a family man. I think you have 2 daughters, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And last year, Alvin was at the summit in February as well, and you shared with us advice to your daughters. I've still got that on my wall for my son as well, so thank you for that.
That's great. I'm glad you're making use of it.
I guess one of the questions I have, I'm a parent, and my son's 12, and he does some VR. But I think a lot of parents... I think a lot of parents aren't exactly sure how to handle technology with their kids. And I think a lot of parents have maybe given up. Other kids are strict. Where do you stand on that line with your kids?
In terms of allowing them to play with VR or in technology in general?
Technology in general and then VR as well, yeah.
So my stance is I'm actually pretty open, but I think as long as it does not interfere with their schoolwork and some of their higher priorities, and I've been fortunate that both my kids have done quite well in school. So in fact, both my kids are now going or will be going to University of Washington, and Tom's actually been mentoring the two of them. So,
fantastic. That's
lovely. It's been a
yeah,
blast.
so thanks Tom for your help in doing that. But I think you have to give kids freedom to make their own decisions and make their own mistakes. In fact, right? In fact, this is how my dad raised me. Was he said, you can decide anything you want as long as you realize the consequences of your decisions and you're able to manage those consequences. Then you can do whatever you want. Right. So he never told me not to do anything, and he never told me to do anything. He made suggestions, and he said, "You make your own choices." And I think that's the same way I would manage or parent my daughters, because I think kids need to have the autonomy to make their own decisions. In the real world, nobody's going to be there to handhold them, in their key decision making.
Okay. All right. Next question. We've all been through a pandemic. We're not quite out of it yet. A lot of people were very hopeful that VR would provide a really powerful solution, or that it would be adopted. How useful has VR been for you in the last, let's say, 16 months, 17 months?
It's been quite a key part of my work and my personal life. So, we do a lot of our team meetings in VR. It's a way for us to keep close, especially when we can't have our offices together. China was one of the early countries to get more recovery into a more normal working life. So for in-country travel, it's fine. But I've only been back to Taiwan one time in the last 16 months. And that was when I was transiting through. So to be able to talk to folks in our headquarters as well as in other regions, we use VR quite a bit, and it's a way for us to keep that connection that we've lost. And I think for a lot of our global personnel, it's been the only way that they've had to interact even with people in their own city, because the offices have been closed for a very long time. On a personal level, actually, I've had both my daughter's birthdays in VR.
Oh, really?
Because yes, so I couldn't be with them last year, during their period of their birthday, because I actually make a promise to them that I would spend our birthday together, because actually my younger daughter has the exact same birthday I do. But,
oh, really?
Yeah, so that was probably the best birthday present ever.
Fantastic. Yeah.
But so I wasn't able to be there, but I set up a virtual birthday party where we had slideshows and the fireworks and virtual birthday cakes and all the things that you would normally do in the real world, and we still felt connected. Even though we weren't physically.
That's remarkable, isn't it? When you feel connected, do you want to, when I see my son in VR, I just always want to give him a hug.
I do. Yes,
exactly. Yeah.
And this is why I actually asked the Dave Whalen from Immersive Tech to add in the hugging and the vibration features, because that touch, having the ability to touch somebody is so important in VR.
Agreed. I agree. So do you think that hopefully, fingers crossed, we come out of this pandemic and we find our feet a little bit? Will VR maintain the same position in your operations?
I think so, and probably more so, because honestly, I think people have gotten used to a new way of working, both in HTC as well as I see a lot of people outside, first moving from physical to digital, and then now moving from digital to spatial.
Right.
So, and I don't know if you saw last week at our announcement, our V2C event, we also announced our partnership with Accenture. And the Accenture folks are telling me, and actually also the PwC folks that we're working with, they're saying, look, our clients really need a way for their employees to stay connected, and they see it as a global trend. And they're saying, hey, if I can prevent one business trip or eliminate one business trip, I've paid for my device. So their return on investment is less than 6 months.
Yes.
Yeah, it pays for itself in no time. Right. So whereas, normally you have a capital equipment, you're looking at 3 years or 4 years depreciation on it. I mean, they're saying in 6 months, we paid for it. We can upgrade every year if we want to.
Okay.
And I think that's where the world is going. And, once people get used to the freedom of not having to go to the office every day, I think it's hard to go back to the old world. I actually think there's a lot of value for being physically together.
Yes.
But having it as a hybrid model, maybe 1 or 2 days a week in the office, and then 2 or 3 days a week outside. I love that. That's probably the best of both worlds, because then you get higher efficiency, and you save all the commute and the stress of the commute, right? And sometimes you having an ability to be in your own space, you can be a lot more productive. Right? Okay. But having 1 or 2 days to be able to be with your colleagues creates that physical closeness you have as a team. So it's really the best of both worlds.
Okay, love that. A quick question for Tom. So, and you can respond to this as well, please. At the beginning of the pandemic, and we had just done our summit in February, there was a lot of talk about how VR would benefit from this, or would it be detrimental for the development of VR? Looking back now, do you think it's been a net benefit or a net friction point for VR, the pandemic? Do you think it's been a net gain or a net loss?
Well, I think that the answer is obvious, at least it is to me, that people are realizing that this is a way where they can go places and still be at home. I mean, it has been, I believe, a release for people to be able to feel like they are back to the spatial thing. They're able to go, have experiences, go to places without having to physically go out of their house and be exposed to the virus. Yeah. And so I think, though, one of the things that really impressed me, I think even before the pandemic, is what happened in your summit. In the Educators in VR International Summit that Alvin mentioned earlier, and what happened there. That to me was like Woodstock. Woodstock was something that happened when I was growing up, but it was a happening, and that people didn't realize what in the world they had done, what you had done, and what everyone gathering from all over the world, and the people I got a chance to meet, the things that we did over that 6-day period, 24 hours a day. It was, after that, everybody was saying, we'll never go back. This is before even the lockdown and the pandemic. We'll never go back, because look at what we saved in terms of money in pulling off a conference like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unheard of. And instead of, what was it, 1.5 million pounds of carbon that was created, we had, a few hundred pounds of carbon.
Yeah, I think it was a 95% reduction. That's what we calculated anyway.
Yeah. And then when you add the expenses that were saved, the travel, the housing, the amount of time, I mean, it was a paradigm shift. And then of course the pandemic happened, everybody got locked down.
Yeah.
But the cat was already in the bag, I believe.
Yeah.
That people are realizing that this is going to be a wave of the future. And then of course, parents were beginning to complain that their kids were at home all the time. They had to be at home, but their kids were home too. And so they see, I think people are beginning to see the value of this technology as, and that they're going to be working more at home, as kids are going to be more at home, things like that.
The reason I ask is because I was speaking to, I forget who it was last week, who said for education, actually, VR or the pandemic was a bit of a blow to many schools and colleges. And certainly I know I was running a VR lab this time last year at college here, and that got shut down because we couldn't, the hygiene factor with devices. I know there are sanitation devices and so on.
Yeah.
But the school just had completely different priorities. Like VR was too experimental. They just needed a solution, get everybody on Zoom right now, just so that we can keep operating. And it's taken them this long to really find their feet. And I left my lab because I could see that it was going to slow down to the point where I was just going to be frustrated with it. And I think a lot of colleges are maybe now starting to come back around to it. I mean, some very forward-thinking colleges and universities have really embraced it. And for example, tomorrow we're meeting Matt Hazel from TriPoint Lab and Stanford Medical Summer School, I think. We're doing an experience with them. They've been really innovative. But I think a lot of schools and colleges have taken a hit with regards to their immersive program, just logistically. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's educational institutions in general are taking a hit because, I mean, when people are not in the physical schools, they can't use their old system.
Right.
So everybody's in crisis mode. So it's understandable, I think, that they're backing off of some of the things that they don't fully understand. But I think in a way, this is actually opening up an opportunity to really revolutionize education in general. To show that, hey, you know what, actually you didn't necessarily need to be in that classroom to learn. Where a billion students around the world were learning through a screen. Now, a screen that you can be inside of is even better than a 14-inch or 15-inch screen that's in front of your laptop.
Yeah.
So I think in the long run, the educational world will actually benefit from what's happened here because it really helps people to understand the digital aspect of creating a new pedagogy for teaching. Even though I think video-based teaching still isn't that effective. And we've seen that with the MOOCs out there where, less than 5% of people actually finishes these courses that they take. But when you're forced to do it, where it's part of your core curriculum, then you have to finish it because otherwise you don't get your degree. It's not an optional course, right? But then having an immersive world where you're part of, then you actually want to be there instead of tuning out, right? Because what all the studies are showing, essentially within about 10, 15 seconds of a video starting, the student have drifted off to looking at their phones or something else if their screen's not turned on, so they're not paying as much attention. But when you're in VR, you really don't have an opportunity to look at anything
focused
else. So that ability to focus, and we've done a lot of studies, as you know, in our labs here and in the work that we do with a lot of the academia, where we show that it's 5 or 6 times better focus when you're in VR, which leads to 2 or 3x better learning and better retention of that information. So we really see the potential of this technology to change how schools will behave in general, and I think it also makes high quality education available to a much larger audience, right? When you're forced to be in a physical room, you can only have 30 or 50 or maybe a couple hundred people in a room. Right. And that's not enough. If you have a great teacher, how can we share that great teacher with 1 million students? And that's something like what we're doing right now, where right now we may have like 20 or 30 people here, but it could easily be 1 million people if we wanted to.
Tuning in, and then you can have recorded content as well. Here in Engage, you can have like recording avatars, you can have content recorded and experiences.
Absolutely.
So absolutely. Okay.
I have a lesson about that too. Yeah.
Say again,
please.
No, I was just thinking about the V squared. What was the VE squared 2 or something like that? The conference
V2EC.
V2EC. There you go. V2EC. Where Alvin got a chance to present, and as well as other people from HTC, and I went back there several times. I went back. I was just there in the world, experiencing it again with Alvin. Talking about this, even though I was there when we did it to begin with, and it was fantastic. I mean, it was like being there again and experiencing it again, and that we will have available to us in these recorded worlds. That it's not just has to be in real time like we're doing now. It can be. We can have those recorded experiences of being in the place. And
it's so much more, I guess, immersive and interesting than watching a video, right? If you watch a video recording, you're looking through a window at another world, Right. Whereas
But
if you watch a recording in VR,
yeah,
you're actually opening the door and letting people walk into that world. And
you,
and the memory you create is so much different.
I totally agree with you, and I've done it. However, I think what I find is interesting is like people don't even understand how to watch a spatial recording. It's just so new. Like, you know, I mean, anybody who knows VR a bit and can load a recording, yes, they understand it. But if we tried to explain, or we brought somebody who's never done VR and we said, this is recorded content, watch this, I think it would be so new that it's like there's a period of adjustment to really understand
like
the
5 minutes.
maybe only 5 minutes. Yeah. Wow, this is cool. I get this. Okay. Yeah, maybe.
But then you start looking around and wandering around. It's like, hey, this is really cool.
Yeah, maybe. Right. I want to change tack a little bit, and we're going to come in a moment to a bit of a conversation around HTC and what's happening. But just before we do that, I do have one more question, because I was listening to you speak not too long ago, and you were talking about the adoption of VR in China. And it seemed to me like the profile of adoption was different in China than it is in the West. And I wanted to ask you about that, and if there's anything we can learn from each other in that respect. Is there anything that's working particularly well in China that really would help the Western ecosystem, and vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see China as kind of a like a bird in the canary, or a canary in the mine shaft, where it senses things a little bit earlier, right? It's an early adopter for almost all technology these days. It's kind of first to go into to text messaging, first to go into mobile social networking, first to go into mobile payments, and electric vehicles and clean energy. All of these new tech that's been created.
You're right there, John. I think you might need. Okay. Yeah, he's being set down. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
So VR is just another technology that I think are going to be these transformational technologies that are affecting our world, and China's adopted it faster because it does just everything that can give a market a competitive edge. It gets adopted and tried in China because it is such a competitive market, right?
Yeah.
So from a business perspective, there's been a lot more business adoption a lot earlier for VR than anywhere else. In terms of location-based entertainment, it was also the first to really adopt that. So you have, I think in 2016, 17, there was probably like 10,000 location-based entertainment facilities.
Really?
Right.
10,000.
And that very, very quickly helped to create that base of an understanding of education. Of having people try VR. I think that's actually the biggest obstacle for VR adoption is that first trying, right?
And the headset on, right?
As Tom said, within 5 minutes they get it, but before they try it, you can talk your head off.
Right.
They're like, how is this different than just having a screen in front of your head, and just a big TV, right? But once you put it on and you realize the amount of immersion and the interaction you have, it changes your perception of this technology. And I think that's what happened in China. So, and then also the government here is very supportive. So they've put in policies to encourage schools and companies to try this technology and go more digital in general, right? So I think those are the kind of things that have helped to create a faster adoption cycle than most other places. And if you look at our percentage of sales, it's probably 70 to 80% of our sales in China right now going to businesses, whereas in a lot of the rest of the world, it's still over 50-60% are going to consumers. And the early adopter gamers, it's good to have that core initial audience. But they don't they're not scaling to the mass, right? That hardcore VR gamer audience that's been trying. Now, over the last year to 2 years, I think the U.S. is starting to move a little bit more broader with the Quest and the Quest 2. I think Oculus has done a great job in bringing that price point down to a more consumer-friendly level, and they have the finances and the advertising cash cow to support subsidizing that type of device. And I think overall it's a good thing for the industry because it creates more awareness. But it's not a business model that every company can play, right? And so as you know, we recently announced a couple of new products, but those products are more targeted towards the business audience because we think that's still where the sustainability of having a normal business model where you actually make money on the products you sell, and then you try to improve on those, and you offer better services over time and improve features over time. But you have to, as a company, be able to survive. And so that's our that's how business used to be done.
You used to do business for money, and
yes. So I mean, but I think overall the industry is progressing in a very natural and positive way. So the things that you're seeing in China will go to the rest of the world. You'll see more business adoption over the next year or 2 years, and devices will start to bifurcate. There will be a lower cost item that's products that are for average consumers, and then there will be higher end products that are for essentially the prosumer market or the business market. And and just like you have kind of high-end PCs and low-end PCs, just like you have economy cars and you have luxury cars, right? Both are needed because the requirements of the two markets are a little bit different.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about your devices, because you've just was it last week only or 2 weeks ago?
Just a week and a half ago. So week and a half
ago, exactly. Congratulations on the big release, and I really enjoyed. I enjoyed in the build-up to this launch, because you're quite present on Twitter and so on. I think LinkedIn. And there was a little bit of a to and fro between Oculus and HTC. I really enjoyed that. You seem to have a healthy relationship with competition, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think, at the end of the day, it's too early for competition, right? The market is still emerging, and there's no reason for us to cut each other down. At the end of the day, we need to help the entire industry survive and to grow and to mature. And there's plenty of time for future competition. But I think right now, I think it's beneficial to everybody to have different products in the market that are serving different customer needs, and be able to allow everybody to be to have the best experience that is affordable to them.
Okay. So yeah. I know you've got these two new products. It is two, right? And I want to talk about that. And then I'm also aware that as a company, HTC Vive, you're involved in a number of interesting initiatives and projects beyond your product as well. So after we've kind of discussed the products a little bit, I want to touch on that as well. And Tom, feel free to chime in at any point, because your perspectives. I was looking 52 years in VR. You've done more VR than I've just done life. So we want to hear from you as well on this.
It's actually 55, but that's okay.
55. There you go.
But who's counting?
Who's counting? That's right. Anymore, it's just a blur.
So I'm looking forward to trying your devices as soon as possible. Tell us just a little bit. What's the major innovation? What's the biggest leap?
I think there's two major changes in this device that I'm really excited about. One is, of course, the enhanced visual quality, right? You're going from a 2.5K device from the prior generations to a 5K device. Right. So you're essentially the concept of screen door effect. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Right. The ability to read text on the screen used to be a real difficulty. I think that's actually quite comfortable now. I've been using these devices quite a bit recently, and I have to say that I can pretty much replace my normal monitors with it and feel comfortable. Now, and then also the wider FOV, so I actually don't feel like I'm looking through a tunnel. I think that's something that a lot of first-time VR users would be like, "Oh, this is great, but I wish I wasn't looking through that tunnel." Right. Now you're going from,
what is the FOV?
FOV is 120 degrees horizontal. So you're even our standalone is wider FOV than the high-end PC VR out there today. Right.
Wow.
So I think that's what's really special.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other part that I think I'm really excited about is the comfort and balance, right? With our new Focus 3 product, we have exactly 50-50 weight balance between the front and back.
Really?
And you essentially put this on and you don't feel like you have a headset on, right?
Yeah.
Whereas before, you know, there's always that weight in the front of your head that, that you know, after an hour or half an hour, or for some people maybe, you know, a little shorter or longer, you need to kind of take it off and rest a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
Or you have that little crease in the, in your around your eyes, the whole Quest face thing, right? You don't need that anymore, because now it's so balanced. You don't have to have that screwed in so tight that it doesn't fall off your face. And you know, having that clarity together with the comfort allows you now wear for a few hours and you feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And you're able to be productive doing that. So now I'm not, you know, using it just when I need to wear. I put it on and then I take it off right away, which was how I used to do it, or how most people would use VR. Now you can just put it on and I can actually do some of my normal office work in VR. And with some of these new tools that are out there, you can actually use your keyboard and your mouse and have just this virtual screen there. And for a lot of people, I think that actually can help you have a sane home office life, because you may have the dog or the kids or the spouse walking around, and when you have your headphone on, you actually have your own private space. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that that can give you some level of sanity. And when you take it off, you're back in your real world again. So you can have an office-like experience without going to the office. And I think that's something that is even more valuable than, you know, better gaming or better videos or other things like that.
Okay. A comfortable personal experience. Okay.
Yeah. And for extended use.
Yeah. Okay. What do you make of that, Tom? What?
It's beautiful, because always, you know, we've gotten to the point where we solved a lot of the problems we had before with latency and things like that. And so the computational power let us do that. And then increasing the field of view along with the resolution to support that field of view was certainly needed. But let me tell you, the biggest thing that contributing fatigue has been the headset, the ergonomics of the headset.
Yes.
And the balance is so important. We've known for many years, just offsetting the center of gravity of the head with something that's loaded on the front is going to be highly fatiguing.
Yes.
And so this is kudos to HTC for pulling that off.
Yeah.
And especially being able to do it when you think about, for example, the Focus, all the computational capacity that's going on in that particular headset. I mean, it's phenomenal. And to be able to distribute the weight, and of course, the battery life is a big deal too.
Yes.
When you're talking about standalone.
Yeah, actually, to add to that battery life item, what we've also done is create a swappable battery. So within about 3 to 4 seconds, you can pull the battery out and put it back in, and you have another 3 hours of battery life.
That's great.
I think that's something that no other device has today. And also it's all magnetically driven. The front and back pads can be snapped on and off in 1 or 2 seconds. So you were talking about the cleanliness and sharing of devices. So I don't actually have to have my own device. I just have to have my own face mask.
Really?
That's clever. And it snaps on, and you can clean it off with an alcohol wipe. So it's not the foam wipe. It's actually a false leather pad that you can easily clean with just about any disinfectant.
Interesting. Maybe in the future, when there's many like broader adoption devices, you'll have like a universal face mask that'll fit any VR headset, and you just keep that, and you can use anybody's.
Particularly if you're going to location-based entertainment experiences, you don't really want to be that 100th person who put your head in that thing.
Exactly.
Right? So having your own face mask.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Before we started, we were chatting before the event, and one of the things I would love all headsets to have, and I said this to you, is the flip-up visor.
Yes.
So working between, because I know I can have a virtual office on my VR headset, but I still find myself checking my papers, lifting my thing, doing this, checking something on my laptop. and I really want that just ergonomic, that I can flip my visor up, work without, because otherwise I'm always balancing it on my head and then my neck gets sore just to flip up visor.
But I think that's the issue with the older devices where you are front heavy, right? And you also we've done two things to help that. One is having it so you're not that front heavy. The other thing is we have a one click turning on of the pass-through cameras with these devices. So you click at it, and then immediately you can see the physical world in front of you. And see the if you had to pick up your coffee or whatever, and you don't have to flip it in and out, because we do have a flip up design on our Cosmos, but we find that for some people having that flip up design means there's a little bit of movement,
play,
a little bit of play, and so when people move around, it disturbs them a little bit. Right?
Fair
so
enough.
It's a compromise. Now having if you're just having a sit down experience all the time, then it's probably fine. But if you're playing Beat Saber and it has a little bit of give,
true. I hadn't considered
that. It may disturb your experience.
Yeah, fair enough. Right. Well, I do also want to touch on some of the broader work you're doing for the ecosystem, Alvin. Tell us a little bit about what's going on beyond your product.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you know, HTC has been really focused on the entire XR ecosystem since we started this whole Vive program, right? So it's not about creating a closed ecosystem where it's our store, our software, our hardware. Everything we do is compatible to everything else on the industry, right? Our store, we let everybody, every thing from Microsoft to Oculus to Valve, they can all use our store. Right? Our SDKs are open to everybody. We made the Vive Wave program, which has enabled, I think, about 70% of the standalone headsets in China are using the Vive Wave program. So we've helped, some people would say our competitors actually create a better product faster to the market so that they can help serve a customer base that we aren't able to serve. And in fact, iQIYI, which is the number 3 headset manufacturer in China, we let them use our controllers. So they used their headset with our controllers so that they could get out to market with a 6-DoF standalone. So the things that we're doing to help the market is actually quite broad. In addition to that, we have the Vive X program, as you probably know. So we've invested in over 110 companies over the last 4 years, helping companies of all sizes really to when they most need it, right? As a former serial entrepreneur, I know how much value there is in terms of having a large corporation behind you when you're a startup, and having the power of that company to support you to go to market, to get you access to people, to resources, to get you the promotion and publicity that you need when you start out. And we've been doing a lot of that with a lot of our startup companies. We have the Vive Arts program. I don't know if you know about that, but which we've worked with over 50 museums, galleries, and famous artists around the world. Wow. Yes, to create artistic content and bring it from what used to be fixed in a location now to the virtual world. Like last year we worked with the Louvre to take the Mona Lisa and turn it into a VR experience. We worked with the Museum of Natural History and turn their Tyrannosaurus Rex experience into a virtual experience. We worked with the Tate Museum to turn the Modigliani exhibit into a virtual experience, so that you don't have to go to London to experience that. But if you actually went to the museum, you could go in there and be feel like you actually went into the artist studio of Modigliani while he made and painted his most famous paintings, and then be able to come out of that experience and then go see the physical real paintings that he painted. And that connection is it's surreal. It really is surreal, because you can see the little cigarettes with the smoke coming out of it, and you're like, oh, I could see him being in the studio doing his creation, and then to see the half painted picture of the art that was there, and then be able to see the fully painted one when you got out, right? And that really gives you that connection to something that happened 100 years ago, but it felt like you just were there.
You were just there, right?
Yeah, and that's the same with a lot of other. We did the Palace Museum. We did the a lot of various, Laura Anderson, did one about the going to the moon. It's amazing the kind of things that we are doing that used to be exclusive to a certain kind of high culture audience that now we're making it accessible to anyone.
Accessible. Can hear the excitement in your voice, can't you, Tom? It's lovely. I get
gosh,
excited
it's
myself
beautiful.
as
Yeah, I love these
lovely.
guys.
Yeah. I mean, because both my parents are artists, so I grew up in an artist family, and that's so I appreciate how art and beauty can actually impact our lives, and how little a lot of our generation now don't really spend time to go back and think about that. So to be able to expose different parts of art and culture and history
to bring it back
to the younger audience. Yes.
Yeah, I've been to one or two very compelling art experiences or apps or platforms, and one in particular, it was all the classics, just an empty, I think it was a single player experience, all the classics over like 500 years, maybe
nice.
100 paintings, and just me and the museum to myself. I spent a good 2 hours in there. I mean, it was just remarkable. Yeah.
Well, that's the issue with going to museums. There's just so many people there, right? And
that's right.
And, like if you ever went to see the Mona Lisa, there's a rope that's about 10 meters away, and then you have 100 to 200 people that are crowding around just to take a photo, and then that's not a art gallery experience.
No,
right? That is just a sideshow.
Yeah, so, I'd rather look at the postcard. I was gonna. So I wanted to come back to the Vive X, the support you. Is that program still running? Is that an ongoing thing?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, in another month, we're going to be having our 2021 roadshow, where we're looking for the 10 top VR startups in the world to come and present to VR VCs around the world. So anybody who wants to apply, please come to the vivex.com website. And submit your business plan, and we'll help to bring you into the pitch sessions, and we'll be doing it in VR. So
fantastic.
VCs can watch.
Mark it on the calendar. Wonderful. And what are kind of the criteria? Is there a particular kind of type of startup that you're looking for? Is it like hardware, software, platforms, anything in particular?
Yes. Well, I think. We're at a point in time, I think, of this industry where it's really about to take off. And the key kind of hardware players are already there. I think it's very hard for a startup to go and say, hey, I'm going to be the next Oculus or the next Vive. But I think it's a great time for solutions providers, for accessories providers, for content, for game providers, for tools providers. So all the things that are going to be needed to make this ecosystem full, right? Because once you have the hardware there, now you just need to fill it up with all this content, with all the tools that people are going to be using every day. Just like the iPhone created this whole app industry, right?
Yeah.
And you have millions of apps now. Yes. We're going to have millions of VR apps very soon. Right? Very soon. Think about it. Everything that's been successful in the phone or on the PC, there will be a version of that in VR, because VR will be your computing platform going forward after the next few years. There's no reason to go back to a flat screen. So just think about how can you leverage that new platform to create an experience that solves whatever problem you're solving today as a software developer. How can we solve it in 3D better?
Very interesting. Very interesting. I want to just share something with you, and I'm going to try and I've tried a number of times to formulate this idea, and I'm not sure I ever did it justice. But you know how the mobile phone has, this one device has absorbed the calculator. It's absorbed your calendar. It's absorbed your address book. It's absorbed, like, all of these real world things we used to have become digitalized, right?
Yes.
And I have this theory, or I have this question, I guess I'm wondering about it, whether that same thing will apply to the extent where experiences get absorbed. So let's say with a family you go to a amusement park, right? But we can, the amount of amusement we can get out of a VR headset now, might that make a VR park redundant when we can do it in VR? It's a little bit, I'm not sure it will happen, and some things will remain, of course. But I just wonder, shopping, we could do that in VR. Will shopping die out and we'll only do it here? Like if you're talking about the office, these kind of things, will experiences be absorbed that we can have convincing enough experiences in VR that the real world equivalents kind of fade away, like a calculator has faded away because you've got the mobile phone to do it for you? I just wonder, do you think that might be a thing?
Well, I remember having this same conversation with Jaron Lanier.
Yeah, okay.
Back in the early 90s, we were talking about this, of why we could project ahead that we were going to have these incredible high resolution, low weight devices that we could wear that would create these immersive virtual worlds. And what would be the reason for going outside your house anymore, for going out into the nature and all this kind of thing? You know, and at the time, Jaron was saying, you know, and I think this was profound. He says, you know, I think the opposite will happen, because what will happen is that VR becomes a training system for us to know how to really experience physical reality, because we will begin to notice things like Alvin was talking about with the paintings. I mean, once you've had the experience of going in the studio and then you go into the real museum, wow, this changes everything. Once you've been in a virtual forest where you could become a tree or a earthworm or a squirrel, and then you go in the real forest, you notice things. And we have such an incredible, humans are incredible in terms of our sensory capability and so forth, that we don't even use. As a matter of fact, if anything, looking at screens all day long are constraining what we're able to perceive. VR is going to expand our vision again. And I believe that that we'll have appreciation. Now, there's another thing that Alvin mentioned a few years ago that I've thought about a lot. And he's saying, you know, what about our interior decorating in our home? Or what about, you know, the size of our home and things like that? When in fact, physically, you can be constrained. You can be in a really small apartment. But once you put your headset on, you're in a mansion by the sea.
Or like we are now, right?
Or in the mountains.
I'm sat in an office, and we're all by the beach.
And so, in a way, your physical environment, you know, the expense that you put on your physical environment may not be as necessary anymore. And also, it's levels the playing field. It's
That's
not
kind
like,
of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you have to be a millionaire to afford a nice place. You can have as nice a place as, well, anyhow, you know where I'm going with this.
Understood. Understood. Well,
so actually, I want to add to that a little bit. I think there's going to be two levels of experiences. I mean, just like, let's say we go back to Shakespeare's time. If somebody wants to watch a play, they have to go to that physical place to watch a play. Now everybody watches Netflix. Or Disney Plus. So you take that virtual, that physical experience, you turn it into a virtual, and becomes commoditized. Everybody can access it. But now, if you want to go to Broadway, you can still spend $200 or $300 and buy a ticket and go watch a play. So I think that the physical experiences will become a luxury, but we can still we democratize experiences that weren't accessible before. To anybody, right? So just like you know, to go to a concert. Maybe you go once a year to a concert, but now I can maybe go to a virtual concert every week if I want to, and without the cost of having to, you know, get on a plane or go, you know, wait in line or all those other things. But I felt like I was in the front row, right? And that's something that I can't get. If I wanted to get a front row ticket at a big band, you know, it's just hard to get. Right? But now I can be there and I could feel like I was there. But now, once a year, I might say, I'm going to splurge. I'm going to go watch my favorite band. I'm going to go and travel with them. And I can have that choice. So democratizing experience, I think, is one of the biggest benefits of VR, because, you know, not everybody can go to Disneyland, but everybody can go to virtual Disneyland.
Right.
You know, and that's a way for allowing any income level to be able to have at least a 80-90% type experience.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody can travel to the Maldives, but I could put on a headset and feel like I went to the Maldives for half an hour.
Right.
And what they've done is actually they've done a lot of studies that show when you do that, it actually gives you almost the same level of relaxation as having taken a vacation. You know, just being around on this beach and seeing the waves and hearing the waves, my brain is actually feeling more relaxed.
Yes.
And
okay.
You know,
That's why we chose
I think
this
that's
place.
one of the yes. So I think this technology has a lot of social and psychological benefits, as well as what Tom just mentioned. I think that's actually under considered in terms of the long-term benefit of allowing us to use less by putting ourselves into a virtual environment, so that we don't need that big home, we don't need that as much, you know, car travel or flight travel, and we can live in a more simple way and make our lives and make the world more sustainable, right? I mean, you know, last year the biggest crisis we had was a pandemic, but everybody knows over the next 5 or 10 or 20 years, the climate issue is going to be a bigger problem. Than pandemic, right? And we're
it was a big
hundreds
problem.
of millions of people.
It was a big problem before the pandemic, and the pandemic kind of took over the news globally, as you would expect. But we haven't solved the climate crisis yet.
We haven't solved it. And in fact, what's scary is that the fact that essentially nobody traveled for a month or for many months, and the CO2 reduction was only 5%. Right.
I remember being really surprised by that. Yeah.
So that means that, you know, we really need to change our lifestyle. It's not just saying, okay, I'm just going to recycle a little bit more, I'm just going to you know, travel a little bit less, and it's going to solve the problem. It's not going to solve the problem. We have to change our mindset. You know, do you need a 5,000 square foot home? Probably not, right? And do you need to make that business travel trip, or, you know, all these other things? Do you need a big car, a big, you know, SUV? Probably not. Right. And so a lot of things that, you know, that we could, like right now in China, everybody uses like an Uber type service now. A lot of people who used to want to have a car now is just saying, hey, I can go anywhere and just have that shared car. So instead of having a car that's produced and sits around for 97% of the time, you know, in a parking space, it's being used properly, and there's less cars around.
And that's exactly what I was trying to kind of allude to, is like this idea that that this device has the potential to make real world objects redundant, or at least massively reduce the need for it, right? I know I can fly anywhere in VR, I'm less likely to fly a plane. I know I can work from home in VR, I'm less likely to drive a car. And a knock-on effect over the next 5-10 years, I wonder how big a thing that will be. I want to make one last comment, but we've got some lovely friends and guests here as well. I want to allow them to ask a couple of questions. So get ready if you have any questions. Last thing I just want to say, Jeremy Bailenson wrote a book called Experience on Demand, and the title really stuck with me, as did the book. But I was thinking about this concept of the Internet of Things, how everything has a sensor and is connected and trackable and so on. And I remember thinking one day, VR is really like the Internet of experiences, because like the spatial computing, once that really rolls out, and websites, you think how much content is available on the internet as such, add spatial computing to that, and let's say even half of it only becomes spatial content in some way, shape, or form, then the amount of experiences accessible and spaces and locations of experience, if half the internet was spatial, that would be an internet of experiences I can't even get my head around. And with kids and creators generating all of these things that we can't even imagine what a generation of kids and creators is going to get up to with spatial content, with spatial computing. So yeah, I'm excited for the next 5 and 10 years in this industry. And having said that, we've got some wonderful guests here, and we're already on time. Time flies when you're having fun. But I do want to invite people. We got Joe here, who was on Tom's panel. We've got my good friend Jay. We've got Chris and Mada. Joel's just joined. So now's your time to, and Donna, of course, is with us up here. Now's your time to ask these two heavyweights in the industry any question you like. Don't feel shy. I've got more questions if no one else has. Oh, yeah, we got Jay here. Lovely, yeah. You'll unmute yourself,
he's muted.
Jay? Yeah. I'll see if I can help you with that. There you go. Should be all right now.
Hi, guys. Yeah, great talk. Alvin, quick about the Vive 3. Will it support the NVIDIA Cloud XR platform at launch?
I think we've been working with them on the cloud side for a long time. And, it should support it, but I don't want to confirm that yet. But I know that we've optimized our connection with them on the direct connection for the Pro 2 for better resolution, and let me go back and check on that. But I know we've been working with them on our prior platforms, so I would expect that it should be compatible.
Because I was thinking, because it's got the Wi-Fi 6, so it'd be a great way to stream OpenVR content directly to the headset.
Yeah, so we do have a wireless streaming solution coming out fairly soon for PC VR streaming. At launch, we'll support wired streaming, so like the Oculus Link. But within the next few months, we expect to have the wireless streaming coming out.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
Over here.
Yeah, Joe.
Joel.
Yeah, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, so very nice to be here. And yeah, thanks Alvin for coming here for this fireside chat. And yeah, I would like to ask you, like, what advice would you give to new people that wants to actually start a project in terms of startups in the VR industry, in order to first create a team with synergies that can actually grow up exponentially, where there is actually a good integration between the different team members, and at the same time finding also mentorship in order to actually give a good direction to the project?
So, I mean, I think starting a VR project has the same difficulty as starting any startup, right? Which is you got to find a problem that is valuable enough. You have to find something that you actually have a unique skill or experience set to solve that problem. And as you said, finding a good team of people to really work with that have the same values you do and the same dedication to the project, because you want to make sure that you guys have a shared goal. And then, go and find an investor that actually has also that shared goal with you and this shared timeline of making that happen. If you talk to an investor with too short-term a mindset, it's going to create issues for you, where they're going to put pressure on you to do things that may not be right for the project. But at the end of the day is, solve a problem that you understand, and solve a problem that you actually care about, that you will focus on for a while, because everything worth doing takes time, and it takes a lot of effort, and there will be a lot of challenges that go between starting and success. And if you don't believe in what you're doing, if you're doing it just to kind of follow a wave or a hype, you're going to give up before it's ready.
Makes sense. Thank you very much, Alvin.
Lovely.
Daniel.
Yes. Hey, Joe. All right.
Hey, sorry, I'm on a PC, which is really weird because I'm so used to being in VR and PC
you poor thing.
I know. I got to be a boss and pay attention. We're in the middle of just about to finish a new project, which I'll be happy to share with Alvin. We're about to get our headsets hopefully in a couple of weeks. We've ordered a couple.
Oh, great.
Thomas in Australia got us early access, so we're excited.
Amazing.
The question I had
which one are
was,
you building for, the standalone or the PC? Okay.
Yeah,
perfect.
standalone. We're definitely keen on standalone. We're really looking at rolling out a enterprise ready solution now for standalone. So we've done some trials, and obviously there's challenges with, Oculus doesn't really have an enterprise focus, and we're realizing that quite quickly. So for us, it's the question I have mainly for you, Alvin, I mean, we really enjoyed working with the Vive Pros when we had them, and experimenting with trackers and other sort of third-party support that you guys had, and that was really amazing. Like actually understanding that there's going to be accessories that are going to work with the headsets that you guys won't necessarily make. Is that support going to continue for the standalone headsets, for the trackers and other things? Because that's stuff we'd really be interested in looking at.
Yeah, unfortunately, the trackers are using the Lighthouse system, and the standalone is using an inside-out, computer vision tracking system. So the two are not necessarily consistent. If what we can do is actually, if you're using a PC streaming solution, then you can continue to use the trackers, but use a wireless headset that you stream from the PC. I think that will allow the two to come together, but the processing would still have to happen on the PC. If it's a fully standalone solution that is only on the Focus 3, then the trackers really won't be able to play together.
So is there a goal though for you guys to work on a solution for the standalone, like getting? I guess the big thing is getting access to the camera API so we can actually do, because that's been a big thing for me looking at things like haptic gloves and all these other solutions. The issue with the vendors is at the moment they've got to basically strap the controllers to wrists, or they've got to, you've got to use something else with, especially with standalone. You've got to use a controller as a tracking mechanism, so it really defeats the purpose. Like we're looking at VR pens, and we're looking at all these other solutions that are coming out, but because they're reliant on getting access to the camera API.
Yeah, I think unfortunately right now in the near term that's a trade-off. If you're going to go fully standalone, then the ability to integrate full body or to integrate external accessories are going to be a little bit more difficult. People are going to create little contraptions to be able to put the controllers onto other objects. But of course, that's still not optimal. I think that's something that you need to balance in terms of what's needed by your customers, right? If they want the full realism, or they want the convenience of a standalone. But again, if you are able to have a PC VR as the computing mechanism, then you can combine the two.
Be an experiment we'll definitely look into. So that's cool. But yeah, definitely excited. I mean, having competition is hugely beneficial, and you guys look like you've taken the time to do a good headset, so we're excited to get our hands on it.
Thank you for the encouragement.
All right, well, any last questions? Otherwise, I'm mindful of people's time as well, and Alvin's time and Tom's time. I really enjoyed the fact, Tom, that you joined us for this. Alvin, I want to thank you. You were supportive of our summit back in February. At the time when I wrote you an email, we were very unknown as educators of VR, and I felt very brave writing an email to Alvin, Wang, Graylin, and I thought, well, I'll just send it off and move on. And you were gracious enough, as was Tom and the number of other speakers, to support us back then. Your support then really helped put us on the map, and you coming back this year is wonderful for us as well. So thank you for the work you're doing for the ecosystem. Thank you for the products you're developing. Thank you for teaching him what he knows, Tom.
Everything I know.
He's teaching me now. I'm the student. And it's interesting, by the way, for everyone's, I don't know if you know that, but here you have 3 members of the board of directors of the Virtual World Society.
There you go.
Sitting together.
Yes.
So, we're in love with educators in VR, and we have a wonderful partnership. And of course, Daniel sort of spreads one foot in both places, and we love having that. But Alvin has certainly been a spokesman, and I love the way that he talks about his the other colleagues he has, the other companies that are in the business.
Yes.
That the whole idea is to help each other, because what we're trying to do is build a community of users, an industry, and right now we want to help each other, and probably in the long term we want to help each other.
Yeah.
And that's to me is the difference we see now, and the kind of spirit that VR is bringing to it. And one of the other things that is really encouraging is the women. How many women are involved now?
True.
And girls, and they realize they can do it too. They own this just as much as the men do, So
More of that, please. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Daniel, for organizing everything and for all the great work that you and the whole team at the educators have been doing for this community and for the educators at large. So
thank you.
And thank you, Tom, for all your contributions over the last 5 decades and all the people you have helped to lead into this industry.
Indeed, indeed. Well, with that,
thanks everyone.
Yeah, thank you. We're gonna close the event. Thank you again to my lovely guests, for you for coming, to Chris for your support as always, to Donna, our event director, to our sponsors, and the community. For me, this is the best job in the world right now, and you'll be seeing more of us. We do have 4 or 5 more days of content left, including some really nice. Oh, I can share a little something as well. We have a closing ceremony on Saturday in Engage with a party, a very unique party. So please don't miss that. And we have a closing ceremony in AltSpace on the Sunday. And we have some, our sponsor HP has given us some headsets to raffle off. So there's going to be a raffle on Discord, and there's going to be a live giveaway in Engage of 2 HP Reverb G2 headsets, which is going to be great fun as well. So keep a lookout for that. And with that, we're going to close the event. Tony, you can stop filming. Thank you very much.
All right.